So at the end of 1 Samuel, Saul and three of his sons, including David's friend Jonathan, all die in a battle with the Philistines in the north part of Israel. And meanwhile, David is in the far south on the southern border of Judah fighting the Amalekites. And in the first chapter of 2 Samuel, David has this long poem lamenting the deaths of Saul and Jonathan. And then this past Sunday, the lectionary reading was David being anointed king over all of Israel. So if you just stick with the lectionary passages, it sounds like it's a pretty smooth rise to power for David, a coronation. But in fact, there's a couple of chapters of a really bloody civil war between the house of David and the house of Saul. So in 2 Samuel so I'm going to talk about that today, and it's kind of a Game of Thrones style succession narrative with lots of blood, and it's one of those Bible passages where there's good reason that it's not in the lectionary, because it's a very human story, and it kind of leaves you wondering, where's God in this? So anyway, 2 Samuel chapter 2, David settles in Hebron in Judah and makes that his capital. And the people of Judah, that's his tribe, come and anoint him as their king. And then David sends a message to the people who are loyal to Saul in Jabesh Gilead, and commends them for their loyalty to Saul and asks for their support. But meanwhile, Abner, the commander of Saul's army and Saul's uncle, makes Saul's son, Saul still has a living son, Ishbaal. He makes Ishbaal king over all of Israel. King over Gilead, the Asherites, Jezreel, Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. So the northern kingdom. And actually reading this Civil War chapters starts to make sense when Israel again divides in kings after the death of King Solomon. So there's two kings, David in Judah and Ishbaal in the northern part of Israel. And Ishbaal is Saul's heir, but David has been anointed king by Samuel many years earlier. And so he is God's chosen, and he's also got the support of his own tribe. So then the two sides meet at the pool of Gideon, and they have this tournament, 12 on 12, to, determine who should be king. And it's a really bloody battle, but David's side wins in the end. But after the tournament, there's a big chase. The Judahites chase the Benjaminites, Saul's tribe. And so some characters here. This is one of those lists where, passages where a list of characters would be really handy. So there is Abner, Saul's uncle, and the commander of Saul's army, and Ishbaal, Saul's son. And then in David's camp, he's got David's military commander is Joab, who is possibly David's sister's son. And Joab has two brothers, Abishai and Asahel. So after this battle at the pool of Gideon, Asahel chases Abner, and Abner warns Asahel to follow someone else. And Abner says, "Turn away from following me. Why should I strike you to the ground? How then could I show my face to your brother Joab?" But Asahel refuses to stop chasing Abner, so Abner turns around and with the blunt end of his spear tries to stop Asahel, but ends up killing him anyway. And when Asahel dies, everyone stood still. But Joab and Abishai, Asahel's brothers, pursue Abner. And they chase him all night. And finally, the Benjaminites, that is Saul's tribe, rally around Abner on a hilltop. And Abner requests that an end to the bloodshed, and calling them all kinsmen. So Abner calls to Joab, so the two commanders talking, "Is the sword to keep devouring forever? Do you not know that the end will be bitter? How long will it be before you order your people to turn from the pursuit of their kinsmen?" And so Joab agrees to this ceasefire and blows the trumpets to signal that they should stop chasing Saul's house. And Abner's words there are really bittersweet, knowing what follows, that it is not, in fact, over. But Abner retreats to Mahanaim, Ishbaal's city, across the Jordan, and Joab returns to David's capital, Hebron. And it reports 20 casualties, including Joab's brother for David's side, but 360 Benjaminites, Saul's family, killed. And then the beginning of chapter 3 announces that it was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But all the time, David was growing in power while Saul's house was becoming weaker. And then it turns to Abner. So Abner is, meanwhile, gaining power to make himself king. He had made Saul's son Ishbaal king, but now he's gathering power. And Ishbaal accuses Abner of sleeping with one of Saul's concubines. And to sleep with one of the members of the royal harem is to claim the throne. So Ishbaal is accusing Abner of treason. Abner responds angrily, but he doesn't deny the application. He insists that he has been loyal to Ishbaal, but he threatens to defect to David. He says, "Today I keep showing loyalty to the house of your father Saul, to his brothers and to his friends, and have not given you into the hand of David. Yet you charge me now with a crime concerning this woman. So may God do to Abner, and so may he add to it. For just what the Lord has sworn to David, that I will accomplish for him, to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah from Dan to Beersheba." And Ishbaal could not answer Abner another word because he feared him. So Abner says, "What God has promised to do for David, I'm going to make it happen." And there's no answer from Ishbaal, so Abner sends messengers to David, offering to bring Israel's army to David. But David asks if, in addition to the army, he wants his wife, Michal, Saul's daughter, returned to him. Saul had married Michal to another man after David left Saul's palace. So David wants her back because she is key to his claim to being Saul's heir, as marrying one of Saul's daughters. So Ishbaal takes Michal from her husband and sends her to David, and her husband follows, weeping behind him, but Abner orders him to go home. So then Abner convinces the elders of Israel and the Benjaminites in particular to make David king over Ishbaal. And then he goes to tell David, and David makes a big feast for Abner, and Abner leaves David's headquarters in peace to put their plan into action. But meanwhile, Joab returns from a raid after Abner leaves, and he hears this news that Abner was there feasting with David, And he goes to David and protests, saying, he's tricking you. He's spying on you. So Joab then leaves David, and without David's knowledge, sends messengers to bring Abner back to Hebron. And then Joab murders Abner at the gate, stabbing him in the stomach as revenge for killing Asahel, Joab's brother. David hears about it and finds Joab guilty of murder, and and not only Joab, but their other brother, Abishai. And then David laments Abner. There's a funeral. David has another poem for Abner, just like he had a poem for Saul and Jonathan, and he refuses to eat. So then we turn back to Ishbaal, the other king. And Ishbaal hears of Abner's death at Hebron, and his courage fails. It's not clear if it's because Abner is dead or if it's because Abner had betrayed him. But two of Ishbaal's captains then go into Ishbaal's house in the middle of the day as he's napping at home, so in the heat of the day, and they kill him. They assassinate him. And then they escape and bring Ishbaal's head to David. And they're expecting a reward. They've taken out David's final rival for the throne. But when they come to David, David responds angrily, and he says, "Did you see what I did to the messenger who told me of Saul's death? What more should I do to someone who will kill an innocent person?" So David executes the assassins and has their bodies hung outside. They die a traitor's death, but he buries Ishbaal's head in Abner's tomb. And then we come to when David is anointed as king of all Israel, with all his rivals gone. All the tribes of Israel come to David, and he makes a covenant with the elders, and the elders anoint David king over Israel. And that is how David becomes the king of all Israel. And what's important here is that the narrator, the storyteller, goes to a great deal of trouble to show that David is kind to Saul's family, and it's not David's fault that all his rivals die. But it is David who is the Lord's anointed. So that's all for this week. That's been a pretty long one. And next week, my plan is to talk about Michal, Saul's daughter and David's wife, that he summons back from Ishbaal's court.